This is Louis from What's AI, and here's the second interview with Or Gorodisky, VP of R&D at DID. Here, we will go over the job application process and his current role at DID. You can learn more about education and what Or thinks about graduate studies in the first interview. What is the day-to-day like for researchers that are doing this, like applying models, or are they the ones managing the data? How do they find what's next to improve?
Okay, so first of all, let's talk about the skills. You have to have technical skills, software engineering, and programming skills. It's very common to ask who will AI replace next, and usually AI replaces first the developers and the researchers, because everything becomes a commodity. What was before, like people trying to build network architecture, now it's obsolete, and you just use some baseline architecture that works. So the skill that you need in order to use what's available, usually it's programming and technical skills to use all the different technological stack. So this is definitely one thing that we spotlight in DID. You have to carry your own weight and have the technical skills in order to make your research happen. Don't rely on other people to solve your technical issues. And again, we spoke about iterations, which is very important. You have to have good ideas, but you have to be able to iterate fast. So you need clarity in the good basis in understanding of the problem. You need to be able to form a solution or hypothesis, and then you need to create an experiment and to validate it. So this is the day-to-day life. I don't know if it sounds boring or interesting, but this is usually what happens every day. You either build an experiment or evaluate an experiment or try and think of a new experiment.
Yeah, to me, well, I'm definitely biased towards research, but it definitely sounds like an interesting, but there are a lot of challenges, obviously, and one of which that I'm interested in is how would you assess the viability of a project, of such a project, before jumping into it? Or do you even do that, or you try to solve it, and then if it fails with, I assume, limited funding and available time? So that's an important question, just to know if this project you have in mind is viable, especially in the new term generative AI field, which is like extremely complex and challenging problems.
I think the best way to assess if a problem is too hard is to see that no one does it. And there is a reason for other people to do it, but no one did it. And there is no even papers demonstrating the concept because it's too hard. But usually when you try to solve this kind of problem, it would take a lot of time. It's either a very good idea no one thought about, but usually there are so many people in the field. People think about most of the good ideas. It's just a matter of what team is able to put enough effort, cares enough, is going to put the brains and the effort into building it. So if you don't see any hints in pointing in this direction, it's not a good indication. But it might be very interesting. It might be a niche problem, which is good for companies. If you find an interesting niche that has a big enough market, it could be very important for the company. So Usually we try and frame an experiment. Maybe you want to do a POC, maybe you want to do sanity. Maybe the sanity has nothing to do with building AI model. Maybe it's just using statistics on the data that you want to use. But you have to put the time in to validate some assumptions before jumping into the waters and writing PyTorch or TensorFlow code, because usually this is the easiest part. Yeah, I suggest either finding the baseline externally or doing some testing. Try to do the most basic sanity, and sometimes you'll be surprised by the harsh reality or the very harsh facts that this problem is too hard, or you don't want to put the effort that it needs.
Yeah, and I assume it's also a part of your, well, not new, but of your most recent role as a manager.
Yeah, so as a manager, I work with my employees in building these kind of experiments and building the process. Maybe I'm trying to add the framing into the problem that the engineer is trying to solve. But also when I recruit people, I try to recruit people that share my point of view. We want to do research, but we don't want to do research just for the fun of it.
Yeah.
We want to make impact, and impact is usually reaching customers or building a product. And once we are aligned on this, then we can align ourselves on the process itself.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so I assume another part of your role is also to hire some people in your team, building this research team. And so what are you currently looking for as a potential candidate? You mentioned that the person must have a master's degree, but is there any other thing?
Yeah, we have a say in DID of what people we're looking for. And there are two qualities or two traits that we are looking at people to work in DID. One is you have to be good at what you do. This is in AI, you have to have a good background, math, and the computer vision field, and know about advances and trends, and to have clarity and to be able to simplify big ideas into simple words. And the second thing is to be kind. In Hebrew, but to be good and kind, it's very important because, as I said, we are building a team. This team works together collaboratively. You cannot solve such big problems by one individual. And if you don't have the incentive to work together, to teach your peers, and to build upon a research of someone else, usually it wouldn't be a good fit for you in DID. But it's just an approach that we have. We like solving the problems together. We like when we can collaboratively research something. It means that you have to share your research. It has to be in a way that other people can understand and extrapolate from. But you also need to use other people's research. You cannot build everything yourself, even though sometimes it's the funnest thing to open a new repository or a new code sheet and start everything from scratch. It's many of the times it's a luxury, because then it would take more time and it wouldn't be efficient for the company comparing to building upon something that's existing.
It's funny, I've never actually thought about this being a problem. Like to me, it's obvious that you will start from what's the best and go from there. So have you had any problems of people not wanting to use others' work and they wanted? I assume it's kind of like for their pride to create something on their own. But is yeah, have you had any problems with that?
Um, we try to recruit people that share this viewpoint and to have the motivation of providing impact. So we have to move fast in order to provide impact. But yeah, I can also personally relate to wanting to only use what you've wrote or built, because then you understand it. You
Yeah.
don't need to invest cognitive power into understanding what the other people did, and maybe they made a mistake. And it's the most annoying thing to be stuck on something and feel like it's someone else's fault.
Yeah. Of
But
course.
yeah, but it's part of working collaboratively. So you want to work with good people, as I said, but you also want to be kind enough or humble enough to share your work and to use other people's work.
So as a small parenthesis on what you said, is it frustrating to work with other people's work? As you said, you were sometimes using other companies too, like Microsoft's text to speech and other or AWS. But is it frustrating that sometimes you may have a bug or like something that is not working properly, but you cannot do anything because it's relying on their API or their work basically?
So first of all, this emphasizes again the need to do sanities and check what you're using,
Yeah.
whether it's the data that you're using. Data sanity steps are very important. When you deliver something, you want to ensure the quality of what you're delivering. So also quality assessment of a model when you are delivering it to the shared algorithmic SDK or to another researcher in the team. It's important. And when you use things that from other companies, yes, sometimes you spend time understanding where the bug comes from, who's to blame, and then trying to bypass it somehow. But it's part of being an engineer and problem solving and yeah, tackling these big problems.
And so you mentioned that you were looking for people that are good at what they do, but what if it's first they just come out of a master's degree and they were like in they were doing a very good master's and they were good at what they were doing, but it wasn't in generative AI or like in what you guys do specifically, or if it's a completely new field, like how can you assess that they might be good at what you are doing at the ID?
And so we like to look at the basis. Usually it's concepts and math and statistics, and see that the person is able to do two things. One is to go in depth and to understand the core
Yeah.
ideas and to explain it and to maybe make changes or adapt it to some new concept. And the second thing is to have a broad view. So even if you're not in this field and you haven't done active research, show that you understand the trends, show that you understand what's been done, what's hard, what's easy, what's the main concepts. So yeah, if you did practical research or like I mean specific research in this field, it's an easy way to get you inside the field and know this. But you don't need to do the research in order to have these two. Like you can have good background without doing the master's degree. You could do your own research. You could do your own studying. But yeah, having a background, especially in a small startup, we cannot interview everyone. Like to get you through the door, you have to have the good credentials. Once you're inside, once you're in the process, then it's most on merits and traits. But to get past the first filter, it's more about what's your experience. How do you demonstrate in this piece of paper that recruiters read for less than a minute that you are excellent and good at what you do?
Hey guys, I'm quickly interrupting this video for two special announcements. First, I want to share a very cool AI newsletter that I'm helping with that will give you all the essential daily AI news and tweets you should know. It's completely free and a great way to stay up to date with the field. The second news is that you can now buy What's AI merch if you want it. I have some cool t-shirts, sweatshirts, and even a jacket that you can see in this video. I hope you like the different designs and feel free to buy it to support the channel, or not buy it, it's completely fine, just leaving a like and commenting is all I need. Yeah. If you had to go back a few years ago, but right now, so without a master's degree, what would you do to find such a job at the idea as a research scientist? Like what would be the next step if, for example, you just have you have a CS background at university but nothing related to AI? What would you do? Would you try to learn online, or would you try to create something? Would you do a master's? What would be the best or the multiple good steps to take?
In the idea, we also participate in an internship program in Israel, where people from computer science background try to do this exact move. And it's a program that gives them, I think, 5 weeks of education, and then puts them as an intern at certain places. So for us, this works really well because, first of all, we get access to these very motivated and good, not as experienced pool of people. And we get to work with them. And then it's much easier to assess the potential. And actually, I think 20% of our employees came through this kind of internship program. So if you find a way, like doing the masters, that's the easiest way. Like, I don't know if it's easy, like the master itself, but the easiest way to get into a company in the generative AI field. But try to find ways for you to demonstrate to a company that you have the right quality. So maybe you work at a company that does generative AI, but you'll start as a software engineer. And maybe you participate in some programs that allow you to then work at the company and demonstrate your skills. But these are the 3 ways that I see that you could get yourself in a computer vision generative AI company.
So entering the company but not with the role you are looking for would be a great first step.
Yes, but then the weight of demonstrating that you have the skills is on you.
Yeah, there are definitely tons of challenges in getting in this field, especially now. I assume that you are receiving a lot of candidates, or like a lot of people are interested in joining. And so is there, since you are in the generative field, so like creating something, and it's a bit in the artistic realm, so are you also looking for other kinds of backgrounds than CS and math, or like scientific applied? Are you looking for some arts background or literature, game development, or any other, yeah, very different background than what we are used to with AI research.
Yeah. So first of all, in terms of the quantity, for just one position, we get more than 1,000 CVs of people that are qualified and filtered by some kind of first process. So yeah, it's very competitive, and you have to stand out in some way. The team also has people with background in fashion. We have one researcher that did combined research in like a combined master in the Hebrew University, combining fashion and computer science. So yes, definitely having an aesthetic sense is important, and also background in virtual reality and 3D rendering, which is more technical, but as also artistic aspect is important, and it could be a contributing factor.
That's interesting, and it's crazy that you have thousands of good candidates for one role. It's, yeah, it's unbelievably challenging to get a new job, and as you said,
Also to recruit, like going
yeah,
through,
of course.
going through thousands of CVs, and then doing phone interviews, and then on-site interviews and technical interviews. It's taking a lot of the load from companies also.
Yeah, and that must be not horrible, but extremely challenging. And so, how would you say that a candidate stands out? Like, what is a good thing on a resume to have that will take you apart from the other 1,000 people?
Show that you're excellent. So whether it's in school that you got excellence or Dean's List Award, or you worked on a project that's very famous and well known. And the, I think this is one way to stand out. It's, I think, the obvious way to show off your grades, but it's an effective way, nevertheless. Also, having a diverse background is important and interesting because we are building a team, and this team works better when it's diverse, people with different mindsets. When we look at the CV and we see someone with interest in volunteering work or did an interesting transition between fields, it's also can be contributing. So anything to stand out,
Yeah,
would
so
be good.
I think that's good to hear to a lot of people, that basically switching field even older might actually be something beneficial for finding your future job.
Yeah, if you made the transition and it was successful, like you got from computer science programming position into a startup that is doing computer vision work, then you made it. It's hard, so you get the credit for it. But yeah, maybe doing the first step is the hardest.
Yeah, and I assume, especially if you, for example, as you mentioned, if you switch from a fashion field into programming AI, like it's completely different, and it could be like originally it's not related. In the end, in your case, it is related, but it's like very different skill sets. But still, it helped the candidate to have the fashion background that is completely not related.
So she was also an excellent student and got many awards. So she had both.
Okay.
Yeah, also the diversity and also the excellence, but it helps.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if it's unfortunate or fortunate, but it's definitely a competitive field that is like you cannot really go through school and just get a good job. Like you must be a bit outstanding compared to other fields where people are just needed. So you basically have a job, not easy to find, but like much more easy to find compared to AI. So, but it's a bit unfortunate for both sides. Like it's hard, as you said, it's hard to recruit, and it's also hard to be a candidate. So yeah, that makes things tough. But hopefully, it will get better. I assume the more. What do you think will happen with this, like not skill level, but the problem with the number of candidates that are maybe beginners versus the offer that like you need people that know how to apply and that know how to code those stuff. Like what do you think is the near future in the field when it comes to hiring?
So there's engineering and research.
Yeah.
Engineering is like optimizing or integrating certain models into an existing product. The algorithm can be existing, and you're making small alterations. This is going to expand. Generative AI and AI is entering almost every field in the industry. And so having this as part of your maybe day-to-day work is going to expand, but the research is, I think, it is not increasing because like producing quality research is expensive. Not a lot of companies can do it, can afford it. It's time consuming, and like some problems you have to rely on existing or external algorithms. And we already see the giants offer a lot of the services for companies without the research. Like you could get good quality text to speech without building it yourself. So unless you are a company that's trying to build a new text to speech engine, which is better than everything existing, then you'll use some service from either a small company or the giants.
Yeah. So most future jobs or near future jobs will be about applying those models and using APIs. So basically much more into engineering and coding. And so would you say that maybe the next best step for a future candidate would be to actually just create an application and basically learn how to implement those models just for fun applications or like GitHub repositories or stuff like that?
Whatever gets you programming and into the making process is good. It's even better if you do it in a framework or like a program that's in a company, because then I know that you're using the right tools and you're not like doing it just for fun. But at the end, also for the researchers, having good software skills is important. So software skills and programming is important for everyone. Unless you're a researcher doing his own work at the academy and you can manage with writing code just for yourself. If you want it actually to be used, if you want it to be adaptive and to let other people extend it in the future, or you want to iterate fast, you need to have these kind of skills.
Yeah. Yeah, so the skills, this required skill set is changing a lot from recently research, and now that we are seeing these applicable models come out and being possibly used in the real world. Now we basically want to apply them and make them more compute efficient and more efficient in general. But yeah, it's more of an engineering problem, whereas since the research is already quite advanced compared to how well we can apply them.
But actually, in order to build a company which is innovative, which is interesting, that's able to compete in this competitive landscape, you have to build something by yourself.
Yeah.
So, in order to do research, you need more skills. You can't just use what's off the shelf.
Yeah.
You need to build something new. And in order to do research in a very competitive field, you have to have good basis, good understanding and clarity, and to have also the good ideas that if you are able to iterate fast enough, would get you to the solution that you seek.
Are you speaking about a team? For example, is it possible to have someone that is only good at doing proof of concepts and research oriented, and then you have a super good engineer that works with this research scientist and they together build something good? Or do you need all the skill sets if you are applying at a job?
In the way that we build the team in DID, we want people to have both skills.
Okay.
And this is more flexible, and it's a way to work more closely with your peers.
Yeah.
But of course, people have different orientations. More people like the research part more, the engineering part more. But once you understand the bigger picture, that this is a way for us to work collaboratively, a way for us to solve a big problem, then you get the motivation to improve whatever you lack in. So it's first we want to check the intent, that people are interested in this concept, and then check the skills and see what's missing, because you could fill the gap if there is a motivation. But if you don't share the motivation that you want, then the individual would not improve the skills that are needed.